AITA for breaking a promise my parents made me do when I was 18. A bit of background information: my 25F parents immigrated to France before I was born to be able to offer a better life for their children. I am the oldest of 5 and had a strict childhood growing up, looked after my siblings, always had good grades, behaved and listened mostly, etc. My main motivation was knowing that I can live my life how I wanted once I became an adult. Fast forward to me turning 18 and choosing which university I should go to. My parents told me that I should pick a town in France that was maximum a 3 hours drive away. I secretly applied to British universities, because I want to study English, and got accepted. My parents said, fine, you can go since you got accepted, but you have to promise to come back home after your studies. Being 18 years old, I just did what they told me to so I could go without thinking too much about the consequences. Fast forward to now, after completing a degree in English and education which took 5 years, I found a job as a teacher in the UK and stayed. This is now my 2nd year of teaching. I have a boyfriend of 5 years, pay for my own apartment and have not relied on my parents, financially, for years now. My mum demands that I come back home, start living in their house and find a job in France. She wants me to throw my life in the UK away, because of a promise I made when I was 18. I just want to live my life how I want instead. They make me feel guilty for not keeping that promise and even set an ultimatum: it has to happen now or never. My mum thinks that I will never come back if I do not come back home this summer. This pressure/guilt I feel has strained our relationship. By the way, my parents are healthy and well and do not need me in France. Of course, I would be with them if they needed support. The way I see it, they are upset that their oldest child left the nest and has no intention of coming back anytime soon. AITA for not keeping the promise I made when I was 18. Edit: my parents immigrated from Bosnia, which has a Muslim/Eastern European culture with very patriarchal values. Family and having children is important. Strict household, girls cannot go out as much as guys. Girls do everything around the house, etc. There are no arranged marriages, but parents like to have a big say and often recommend a potential partner who has been well researched and approved of. He would have to be from the same religion/cultural background for my parents to accept him. They do not like me having a boyfriend from a different culture. My current boyfriend is British. I accepted all this while living with my parents out of respect to that culture, but I always knew that I would not like to live my life according to their rules. I want to travel and work in different countries, marry much later in life, and I do not want children. These are all things my parents disapprove of. During my first 2 years at university, my parents helped me out financially. They did not say that there were any strings attached. Helping your children go through uni if you can is another cultural thing. They are helping my other brothers right now who are also at uni. The rest of the siblings are in high school and can look after themselves, so they do not need me for childcare services. NTA. Your parents left extended family behind when they immigrated. They are hypocrites to expect you to live under their thumb. They went their own way, and so can you. Even if you had parents who were born and raised in France, they are wrong to demand you come home. They need to learn to let go. Tell them the day might come when you may want to move to France, but the more they pressure you, the less likely you'll want to. This kind of promise is meaningless, unless you can predict the future. Promise we'll always be friends, promise me you won't get hurt, promise me you'll move back. It's just not possible to know what the future holds. Being American, UK to France isn't even a very far commute to me. They should appreciate that you didn't pick some far-flung country and stop complaining. Think your parents need to let you live your life. You are clearly a responsible adult making good decisions in life. You'd only grow to hate them for making you give up the life you got. Also NTA. Thanks everyone for pointing that I missed that out. NTA. A promise that is made under coercion and pressure is not a promise. Your parents put an unreasonable condition in you when you wanted to go to university, and you didn't really have much of a choice other than to say yes. Sounds like your parents come from a culture where they expect to have a lot of sire in their adult children's life, so I am sure it is hard for them to understand your decision making, but it's the hard truth that, while they may have been able to give you more stability and opportunities by coming to France, that also altered the social and economic terrain in which their children would structure their own lives. Edit, thanks for the awards. Smile. NTA, you're an adult. Why would you quit your job to move back in with your parents? That makes no sense. You've been gone for 7 years, you have your own life now. I mean, sure, you probably shouldn't have promised to come back, but seems you didn't have much of a choice. Reassure your mom that this isn't a now or never situation, you aren't that far away. AITA for telling my teenage daughter to stay with her aunt because my older daughter didn't want her in the house. My wife and I have 2 daughters, Laura, 20, and Lily, 15. Laura studying away but came home for the weekend. Lily has just had her first boyfriend break up and it's hit her hard. She's been crying in her room the past few days. Unfortunately, Laura has a bit of a wind-up personality and was tormenting her little sister about the breakup, which only upset Lily more. She was saying things like if the boyfriend left her for a prettier girl and saying she didn't blame him, etc. Horrible things. We did tell Laura repeatedly to cut it out, but she didn't listen, to the point that Lily went to bed in tears. Laura has eye problems. She has been very visually impaired since she was a baby. Her current glasses prescription is -28 and she can't wear contacts. We woke up this morning to screaming from Laura's room. Laura had woken up and put her glasses on, but the lenses had been popped out. Lily admitted to doing it and said she threw the lenses out the window. We did try to search for them outside but they couldn't be found. Laura was crying her eyes out and couldn't see anything at all. She does have a spare pair of glasses, but as she only came for a couple of days she didn't bring them with her. To be fair, Lily regretted what she did as soon as she saw how upset Laura was, but Laura didn't want Lily near her and begged us to keep her away. My wife's sister lives nearby, and I asked Lily to go and spend the day there, because Laura was blinded and looking after her had to be our main concern. I then got a call from my sil, saying how dare you throw her out for that spoiled bully. It's not about spoiling anyone. Laura was blinded and terrified, and was too scared to be in the same house as Lily. It was right to ask her to leave until we could get Laura back to her place where her spare glasses were. I do get that it was harsh to just tell Lily to leave, but what else could we have done when our other child was unable to see and crying in fear? AITA for essentially choosing sides. Even if you mean well, your 15-year 1000% sees this as you caring more about the older daughter. Laura is away, comes home for one weekend, and as a 20-year girl, decides to mess with her sister who just had a big breakup instead of comfort her, literally trying to make her feel worse about her situation. All kinds of messed up, and no real punishment just to stop it from parents. Lily retaliates on someone who tormented her in a time of need, and then gets kicked out for it. For me personally, the aunt has it right, punish them both if you'd like. But Laura is definitely the instigator and supposed to be an adult here, or at least an older sister, not a child. So it's okay to let Lily suffer, but it's not okay when Lily reaches her breaking point after you doing nothing to discipline Laura. I know, yes, what Lily did was wrong, but it's on you for not setting boundaries. Sil, saying how dare you throw her out for that spoiled bully. This comment also makes me think that maybe this wasn't an isolated event, but the older sister has been tormenting the younger one for years and the parents did nothing. What Lily did was a touch extreme, but probably driven to it by years of emotional and mental abuse from a bully sister and enabling parents. Hopefully this will wake up the parents to realizing where they have failed the younger sister. AITA, what the hell? You're the A for letting a 20-year-old bully a child like that. AITA, you should have done more when Laura was bullying Lily. Maybe this wouldn't have escalated if you put a stop to that. AITA for telling my wife that our dog had run away 3 years ago and I had replaced it with a lookalike. My wife and I were watching a movie earlier during which the protagonists had an emotional catharsis after getting things off their chest. My wife turned and asked me if I had any confessions to make so that we could grow closer. I said, yes, 3 years ago our dog ran away and I bought a dog that looked identical to him so that you would never know. I was joking, of course, but when I revealed this to my wife she didn't see the humor in it. In fact, she's not 100% certain it was a joke. I'm writing this from the guest room where I will be sleeping for the foreseeable future. This belongs in r/today I fucked up. NTA. Was the joke inappropriate and possibly concerning? Yes. Was it funny? Yes. Are you sleeping in the guest room tonight? Yes. Thank you, kind stranger, for the silver medal. Nah, it was a funny joke, and an even funnier punishment for telling it. Keep thinking up those dog jokes while you're in the dog house. Info: did you think she would believe it when you said it? What length of time was there between the initial statement and the reveal? In my mind there's a difference between a joke which is actually a plausible lie you intend the hearer to believe, for example, I cheated on you, versus one you think they won't believe, for example, I have superpowers. And additionally, how was it delivered? With obvious sarcasm or straight-faced? My boyfriend makes jokes like this with a straight face and takes a more than uncomfortable amount of time to admit it's a joke. I've had to explain why these types of jokes/lies aren't funny to me and how to get them to better hit the mark, for example, crack a smile when I start to become worried.